Welcome to the Space Podcast series, Stories of Change. This is an AI-narrated podcast series inspired by authentic curriculum redesign cases. In each episode, we explore how educators are rethinking teaching and learning to build stronger connections between universities, students, and society.
Hello, and welcome. Today, we're exploring a curriculum redesign journey within arts, heritage, and cultural education that focused on community engagement, collaboration, and creating stronger connections between universities and the wider world. I'll be speaking with one of the redesign case holders about how a teaching team reimagined learning pathways by working more closely with museums, cultural organisations, heritage institutions, and students themselves, while also navigating institutional uncertainty and change. When people talk about curriculum redesign, it often sounds quite structured and carefully planned. But your experience seems to have felt much more uncertain and emotional than that. What did the process feel like at the beginning?
Honestly, it sometimes felt like standing in the middle of a moving city where everything around you was shifting at once. Student expectations were changing, institutional priorities were changing, financial pressures were increasing. And at the same time, we were being asked to imagine a curriculum that felt more connected, engaged, and relevant to the world beyond the university. That was exciting, but also quite unsettling at times.
And I imagine community-engaged teaching added another layer of complexity to that process as well.
Yes, definitely. We realised very quickly that community engagement isn't something you can simply add on to a programme. It requires rethinking what learning is actually for, who it serves, and how knowledge is created. We weren't just updating individual courses, we were redesigning entire learning pathways and asking how students could learn with communities, museums, and heritage institutions, rather than only studying them from a distance.
So, where did you begin with a redesign process that broad?
We started by listening to students, colleagues, educational support staff, and external partners. Those conversations helped us move away from the idea of one single fixed program and towards multiple learning profiles with distinct identities and purposes. Some pathways became more research-oriented, while others focused more strongly on professional practice and collaboration with cultural institutions.
That sounds both ambitious and quite complicated to coordinate.
It absolutely was. One of the biggest challenges was time. Community partners work according to public responsibilities, exhibitions, collections, and real institutional deadlines, while universities often operate according to completely different rhythms. At the same time, there were also internal uncertainties around restructuring discussions and questions about long-term sustainability, which created additional tension during the redesign.
So you were trying to build long-term innovation while also facing uncertainty about the future of the program itself?
Exactly. And because of that, we focused very consciously on designing structures that could remain meaningful even if circumstances changed later on. We developed shared assessment approaches, coherent learning pathways, and partnerships based on long-term mutual value rather than short-term projects.
And what role did reflection and collaboration play within the process itself?
They were essential. We created regular spaces for dialogue within the teaching team, with students, and with educational support colleagues. Those conversations helped us adapt and rethink parts of the redesign without losing the broader direction we were trying to move towards.
What kind of difference do you think these redesigned approaches will make for students?
Students become much more active participants within their learning rather than simply recipients of information. Through project-based and place-based learning, they work on real challenges connected to exhibitions, heritage projects, collections, and research in progress alongside external partners and communities. That kind of responsibility changes the atmosphere of learning. It can be more demanding, but also much more meaningful.
And personally, did the redesign process also change the way you think about your role as an educator?
Yes, very much so. It changed the way I think about education itself. Community-engaged teaching reminded me that education is fundamentally relational. It's about trust, collaboration, dialogue, and sometimes learning to let go of complete control while still creating thoughtful structures that support meaningful learning.
And finally, looking back now, what would you say has been the biggest lesson from this redesign journey?
Probably that meaningful engagement never happens accidentally. It requires time, patience, dialogue, and the willingness to design collaboratively even when conditions feel uncertain or unstable. And perhaps most importantly, real curriculum change is never truly finished. It remains an ongoing process of reflection, adjustment, and relationship building.
A thoughtful reminder that educational transformation is not simply about redesigning programs, but about creating learning environments where universities, communities, and students genuinely learn together.
This story is based on real experiences from curriculum redesign projects run under the Erasmus Plus Space Project. More information about the cases and the Space Project can be found on the website www.community-engagement.eu.